Hello again, everyone. Well, according to this goofball here, a fellow by the name of David Mead, the world is going to end this Saturday on October 23rd in the year of our Lord 2017. Supposedly the planet Nibiru is going to hit us and wipe us out. No, it's not. Not going to happen. At the end of the day, there's something in the human mind, hardwired into the human brain, that keeps wanting to predict the end of the world. And this has been going on since forever. I just did a quick printout from Wikipedia. You can go look at it if you want to. List of dates predicted for apocalyptic events. And there's 11 pages of this stuff. And it all goes back to the earliest reference was 66 to 70 AD. This was the Essenes, the Jewish sect, the Essenes predicted the end of the world. But all during the Roman Empire and medieval times, early church history, the Reformation, people kept popping up and predicting the end of the world. Happens a lot. And, I don't know why it is. It's a fascinating subject to me. Ever since I was a kid, I keep running into these people, at the end of the world. And primarily I think it's because my interest has always been in science fiction. But not that area of science fiction. I mean, I like the storytelling. But I keep running into some of these real... you get into these psychics and these occultists and that sort of thing, and these weirdos. Here's one, Nancy Leader, this woman here. And apparently she was kidnapped by space aliens. Back, I don't know, it was 10, 20 years ago when people kept getting kidnapped by these people in flying saucers. It doesn't happen anymore, but there was a bunch of them, and they were almost all women. There was almost always something sexual involved with it. They wound up on a table naked and they had their body probed. And in the case of this Nancy Leader person, she was kidnapped by Zetas. Here's one here. Here's a Zeta. She calls a Zeta. And they stuck a transmitter in her brain, so now she can communicate with these Zetas, wherever they are somewhere in the universe. And I don't know if this is a way she explains the voices in her head or not. I don't know. She hears voices and they're got to be Zetas. And they told her that the planet Nibiru, whatever, is going to hit the Earth. And this was a few years ago. And then there was the famous Harold Camping, who is nothing to do with science fiction or flying saucers or anything. Here he is here, and he used the Bible to calculate that the world was going to end on May 25th, 2011. Here's some pictures of his followers. They went out and they were really banging the drum on this thing, on May 21st, 2011. And if I recall correctly, some of these poor people, they were so naive and gullible and they bought into his bullshit. Because it's all in the Bible. He had the Bible to back it up. And, you can find anything you want to in the Bible if you look hard enough. I mean, no matter what you want to find, it's in there if you look hard enough and you take and, and you, like this David Mead person, he's like a numerologist kind of guy. So he kind of counts the words and the phrases and stuff, and he assembles them and does this and that and makes predictions. People have been doing that since forever. And Camping did that. Well, here's, it's going to happen. And if, like I say, if I remember correctly, a lot of his people just gave their stuff away. because they figured on May 22nd they weren't going to be here. They're going to be with Jesus. They were going to, go up to meet Jesus, and so all their material possessions were worth nothing. They're not taking anything with them, so they gave everything away. Emptied their bank accounts, gave money to all their relatives and friends who weren't going. So they gave their stuff away, their cars, boats, houses, everything. And on May 22nd, when they were still here, they were left with nothing. They're destitute. And they had to try to claw back some of their possessions. And it was very humiliating. It was really bad juju for these people. Harold Camping, I think he recalculated for another date and then recalculated again and then said, well, there's a difference between the resurrection and the final judgment, and those 2 days got mixed up, and then finally he had to admit that he was wrong, and then he had the good sense to have a stroke and die not too long afterwards. But like I say, Camping, this Meade guy, they went to the Bible. A lot of people have done that in history. They found this stuff in the Bible, the end times. The word for it, the fancy word is eschatology. The study of the end times, what was going to happen to the human race when the world ends. And so, to my way of thinking, Leader and Meade and Camping and hundreds of others, they're mostly harmless people. I mean, they exploit the naive and the gullible, the people that are less educated, that are ill-informed, people that just don't pay attention to what's going on and don't understand how to put current events in the context of history. In other words, you look at something and, some knucklehead like Meade will pop up and say, oh, this, and people think it's a new thing. No, it's been going on. A simple search on Wikipedia will give you like 11 pages of this stuff, where people have been wrong all this time. The world's coming to an end. No, it's not. You just go. But the person, I think, in my opinion, is really dangerous, predicting the end of the world, keeps predicting the end of the world, is former Vice President Al Gore, who I just run his name together as, make one word out of it, Al Gore. And here's a picture, thanks to my Photoshop skills, here's a picture of the prophet Al Gore praying on the beach, kneeling and praying on the beach to God or whomever, Gaia, to send a hurricane and wipe out the human race so that his theories on global warming will be proved right. In my opinion, Al Gore, the prophet Al Gore, is no different than Meade or Camping or Leader or hundreds of other these people. He wants the world to come to an end, and he keeps predicting it. And when it doesn't happen, back in 2000 or something, he said we're going to be underwater in 5 years or some damn thing. Doesn't happen. We didn't have a hurricane of any significance for 12 years, and when one shows up, all of a sudden he's like, yeah, global warming. Right, Al Gore. The prophet Al Gore has become filthy rich, $300 or $400 million with this global warming nonsense, hoping that the world comes to an end. It wasn't too long ago, back in the 70s, I mean, people of my age, even younger, remember that there was going to be the coming ice age. Here's a cover of Time magazine. The world was going to end because we were all going to freeze to death. And, here's a picture of a frozen city. You saw this a lot. They made movies about it, where there's only a few people left. The world was frozen, one massive ice ball. It didn't happen. So all of a sudden, all the scientists changed their mind and says, no, it's not freezing, it's warming. So now, we're all going to simultaneously burn up and drown at the same time. Here's a picture of New York City. The beaches moved in, and somehow, everything is burning up or whatever. But it's not, most of this stuff is Christian eschatology, whereas, they look for the Bible, stuff in the Bible. But it's not just Christians. Every major religion, and probably the minor religions, and, probably a lot of folklore, mythology, has this idea of the world coming to an end. I mean, in Norse mythology, it was called, Ragnarok or something like that, where the end times, where everything would just, the earth would dissolve in a cataclysm of fire, burn up, and then a new earth would be reborn. Kind of like the phoenix idea of the Egyptians and other. But, one of my favorite writers on this is a guy by the name of Isaac Asimov. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with him. Here's his picture here. And I have his book in my library. This is a wonderful read. I highly suggest you get a copy. Isaac Asimov, A Choice of Catastrophes. And he just runs right down the list of all the things that could go wrong with us. And he starts from, and his first one, the Day of Judgment, the twilight of the gods, messianic expectations. And then all the things that can go wrong, the increase of entropy, closing of the universe, the collapse of stars. I'll just run down the list for you here. Collision with the sun, the death of the sun. Then catastrophes of the third class. You have the second class, first class, second class, third class, fourth, and fifth class. So the third class is bombardment of the earth, the slowing of the earth, drift of the crust, change of weather. He has a whole thing on the change of weather. Removal of magnetism. Catastrophes of the fourth class, the competition of life, the conflict of intelligence. And catastrophes of the fifth class, the depletion of resources and the dangers of victory, so on and so forth. Population, education, technology, computers. It's a very good read. Anything that Asimov writes is wonderful. He wasn't a science fiction writer. The guy was a scholar, a real scholar. He was a rabbinic scholar. I mean, the guy was really, really something. He wrote like 350 books, something crazy like that. Had a PhD in chemicals or something to do with chemistry or something. But he runs it right down there, all the different catastrophes. And, this is something that really has fascinated me for a long time, is why do people want the world to come to an end? I mean, they have it in their religions, the dogma, the canon, it's in mythology. Like I say, every religion has this. Why do people want the world to come to an end? Why do they, so much so that they keep predicting all the different ways it'll happen? I don't know why that is. I wished I had the time to dig into the subject. Maybe it has something to do with our deep-seated drive. It's something hardwired in our brain to get off the planet. I mean, there's a sense of urgency that we have to get off the planet and into the stars. And this is very ancient. This is back, way, way, way back when. That's what Stonehenge was all about. How to shoot the soul into the stars and get it into the precise direction, because that was the star you came from, so you had to return to that certain star. So maybe it's that hardwired thing, we want to get off this planet, get out into the stars, into the universe. I don't know, it might have something to do with that. But, all I know is that when I wake up next Sunday morning, the earth is going to be here. It's not going anywhere. So But the question is still, it really bugs me. It has for a long time. Why do people keep predicting the end of the world? And they make money off of it. But it's got to be more than that. It's got to be more than just making a buck. You know, this mead makes money, that lighter woman makes money, camping made money. The prophet Al Gore has made hundreds of millions off of it. But it's got to be more than that. There's something there. There's a deep-seated something that strikes a chord with people. You know, just hoping, wanting, praying, wishing that the world comes to an end. I don't know why. You know, maybe somebody has an idea. But it's one of those things that's a mystery to me, and you know, I just don't have the time to figure it out. And if I did, you know, there's every chance that I'd be wrong anyway. So, you know, why take the trouble? I got a more interesting thing to think about. But anyway, as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.